Hey everyone, RogueGold here, welcome back to the Division 2, and today I wanted to take some time to discuss the seasonal journey for Year 6 Season 3. Now, I know we're a few weeks into the season by now, likely a lot of you have made decent progress into this. However, specifically after the devs went in and disabled the ability to complete these objectives via the shooting range, I've seen a lot of people saying that they frankly don't think they will complete this thing by the time this season ends. And, well, I simply don't agree. I believe in you, even if you don't believe in yourself. Because while the seasonal journey can be tedious at times, absolutely, there are various methods and builds that you can use to stack objectives, improve your efficiency, and just get through this thing faster. And so, that's what we're going to be covering in this video. I've got some tips, builds, and more for you for quick seasonal journey completion, specifically after the shooting range removal. Hopefully that sounds good and you find this video helpful. If so, and you want to see more like it in the future, then I hope you will consider clicking that subscribe button if you've not already. We'd love to have you around. But let's waste no more time and get right to this. Alright, so in this video, I want to primarily focus on journey tiers 4 through 7. Those are the ones that I would say are the most lengthy, as well as focused on different modifiers or certain specific gameplay objectives. So there will be timestamps down in the description for each of those 4 tiers, and feel free to skip to whichever one you need for tips, builds, and more. Before we get to those specific tiers, however, I do have some general advice that applies to journey progression overall, regardless of where you may be in it, so let's cover those very quickly. The first is, if you wish to, you can drop your world difficulty or whatever mission or content you're playing on, you can drop that all the way down to normal, or play on whatever difficulty you want to play on. I know last season there were some objectives that conditioned you to run certain things on like challenging or heroic. That is not the case here. If you want to play the Division 2's content on the easiest difficulty possible, you can, and it will still apply to your progress in the journey. So that is hopefully one area in which you can kind of expedite your progress and make these individual encounters a little bit easier. A big question that I know a lot of people are going to ask is that, well, regardless of what difficulty I'm playing on, what actual content should I go out and do to get some of these objectives done as fast as I can? I don't think it's quite as strict as last season when it was asking you to kill like True Sun's engineers specifically, right? Because there were places in the game in which you could get more of those types of enemies to spawn. This time around, it's really just asking you to get kills and do specific things with the modifiers that you have at your disposal. For a lot of my journey, the part that I didn't do in the shooting range, I found control points to be really solid. I mean, they've always been solid, right? You spawn a lot of enemies in one specific area. You don't have to go hunting them down. So yeah, I think control points are really good. Obviously, feel free to stack your progress here with stuff like projects or priority objectives. If it wants you to go and do a certain mission or do a bounty or do whatever, just be sure you're picking something that has a decent amount of enemy density. Next up, I just want to say this as a reminder because I frequently get comments of people thinking otherwise. You only need to complete 6 out of 8 of the objectives for each journey tier. It says right at the top, 6 required to complete. So I often see people saying, why are they forcing me to do this or that? For every single journey mission or tier, whatever you want to call it, you can pick 2 of the objectives there that you do not want to engage with or do, and simply focus on the other stuff. And this is something I particularly am going to shout out once we get to these specific journey tips. So yeah, keep that in mind. Alright, and then finally, I just wanted to say, I'm sure some of you won't want to hear this, but from the time I'm making this video, you have just under 3 months to get this thing done. I know there is a social pressure, and some of this is applied by the game itself. There's a itch and a desire that you feel to get this thing done as quickly as possible. The journey is designed to be a system and list of objectives that last you for many, many weeks, well into the duration of a season. So just keep that in mind. There is no point to throwing your head against the wall and burning out on playing the game overall just to get these things done. Space them out, take them at your own pace, and I promise you'll feel better for it. Alright, so now we get into the specific journey tier tips and suggestions, as I said we were going to get to, beginning with Journey Mission 4. Now, the way I think it is going to be useful to do this is I'm first going to point out which objectives I don't recommend tackling, because again, right as it says at the top, you only need 6 of these to complete, and then once we take those ones off the list, I'll give you some recommendations for how to quickly tackle the ones that I think you should take on, and what builds might work best for it. Alright, so the 2 that I do not recommend that you tackle for this are number 1 right here, where you restore 100,000 armor via critical recovery, and then additionally objective number 7, where you maintain momentum tier 2 for 120 seconds. This is going to be a recurring theme. Any of these maintain momentum ones, except for the very final one, which we'll get to, I don't recommend taking on. Unless you were able to do this within the shooting range, it is incredibly hard to replicate within open world content, and so yeah, I simply don't even recommend trying it out. However, a lot of the rest of these we can stack up in pretty organic ways, these. The first right here is Objective 2 and Objective 4, so eliminate hostiles using Seeker Mines, blacklisted enemies will count as 2, and then achieving double kills using explosive skills. So, in my mind, a build like this is going to get you through that pretty quickly. Keep in mind, I know somebody is already reaching for their keyboard. These builds are not meant to be min-max perfect representations of like the best build to take on heroic and legendary content. We're talking about getting through the seasonal journey, especially if you're playing on normal or hard. It really doesn't matter too much what your pieces are, but the essential idea here is running the hardwired gear set so that you can get your skill cooldowns down to very quick amounts, like the backpack takes it down to 5 seconds. And so, by chucking out your cluster seeker mines and resetting that as often as you can with the Stinger Hive, this will allow you to get those double kills very easily and take out the rest of those seeker mine kill objectives as listed in the second challenge. Taking a look at objective number 8 here, we have performing headshot kills to boost momentum. And for most of the headshot stuff that we're going to look at throughout the journey here, the most recommended build is going to be a headshot determined build. Something akin to this is what we're looking at. The keys here are having the determined talent on your weapon, preferably a marksman rifle like the M44, or in this case the SR1 is really good as well. But all this does, as you've likely seen people use before, is that by landing a single headshot kill, you can then chain headshot kills off of body shots, as long as you continue landing and killing those enemies. Landing those bonuses will get you these extra perks from the hotshot gear set. You'll then get extra damage from the headhunter talent on your chest piece. All in all, it's just a very solid set. You will build out your seasonal momentum, stuff from the modifier very quickly, and it will allow you to just continue steamrolling through content. So those are the only objectives that I think require or necessitate specific builds to get through quicker. The remaining ones that we have are challenges 6, 5, and 3, and these are going to happen just passively as you play through the other ones, right? As you use your skill build here, you're going to be eliminating frenzied hostiles, you're going to be preventing momentum decay and eliminating blacklisted ones, and these exact same things will tick up as you get your headshot kills as well. So that's Journey 4. Moving on to Journey number 5 here. Again, taking a look at the ones first that I do not recommend tackling, and the only one of that on this list is the number 8 objective, which is to maintain momentum tier 4 for 180 seconds. Again, just don't try it. Save your sanity. But otherwise, for the remaining 7 objectives, you can get all of these done quite easily with a single type of build, and that is something akin to what you're looking at right here. This is just a very simply put together, quickly constructed type of skill build here. We've got 3 pieces of Empress International for the skill efficiency and skill damage. I have the Waveform Exotic Holster to buff up both my turret and striker drone. We've got the Capacitor Exotic, as that is always a very solid option. So yeah, anything like this is going to do you very well, and again, all 7 of those objectives should be counting pretty passively as you play through content with a build like this. The only thing to be aware of, as it asks you in those journey objectives, is that you be sure to have the Overdrive and Momentum Surge modifiers equipped. You will have these 2 unlocked by the time you are tackling Journey 5. And as you can see, challenges 1 and 2 ask you to eliminate hostiles while Overdrive is both active and then on cooldown, whereas Tier 4 here asks you to eliminate hostiles with skills while Momentum Surge is equipped. So slap together some kind of skill build like I showed you there, equip these modifiers, and you should get through Tier 5 without too much trouble. Alright, moving on to Journey 6 here. This one is probably the most annoying mission out of them all, in my opinion. Not because any of the objectives are impossible to complete, but some will just take you a long amount of time for really no reason whatsoever. But we still got tips for you to get through it. The only one in this list that, again, I do not recommend you try taking on is objective number 5 here, where you maintain momentum tier 4 for 240 seconds. Otherwise, objective number 2 here is quite annoying. You can see I didn't really get very far in completing it myself. So while you can take this on, I don't necessarily recommend it. But for the rest of these, that being 1, 3, 4, and then 6, 7, 8. I just put together a slightly modified version of that skill build that we just looked at for Journey Tier 5. I swapped out my Waveform holster for a second piece of Hana U, that being because our other skill that we've slotted in, which is the Scanner Pulse, does not deal damage, so using Waveform would be, invalidated half of the time. But the reason why I'm running something like that is, as you can see from these various objectives, they can really all be tackled at once using that kind of a build. The Pulse is going to allow us to use Reaper Scan to mark and eliminate hostiles. Continuing to use the drone will allow us to get the ticks here for the aggressive drone one, and then all the rest, especially the ones down here, will all contribute no matter what kind of kills we get with which part of our build. The only thing to make sure as you're going through this is that you have the proper modifiers equipped that the objectives are asking you to use. Those include the Vendetta active modifier, as well as the Reaper Scan and aggressive drone passive ones. Again, you will have all of these unlocked by the time you are tackling Journey 6, but so long as you have those equipped, you will get the progress for these 2 right here. here. And then the only real objective that I think you really need to like mindfully pay attention to while you're playing through Journey 6 is the first one right here, because it asks you to activate Vendetta and eliminate marked hostiles. What this will do, Vendetta will pop up icons above their heads of which weapon type or skill type you need to use to take them down. And while it's completely doable, and you will get progress to this as you play, it is just something that you need to be very intentional about making sure you're going out and getting the proper kills. Other than that, the rest of these should go by pretty quickly as you play through with a build like the one that we showed. Alright, and then last but certainly not least, we get to Journey Mission 7. This one's actually pretty fun. It was probably my favorite to go through because it's asking you to do the least amount of like out of the way kind of things. You should get a good amount of these passively while you play. None of these 8 objectives are outright undoable or that I can't recommend you going for. Even the maintain momentum tier 1, finally this is actually achievable because it is the top of the bar. It's a lot easier to keep yourself maxed out compared to staying at a specific tier like the other ones are asking you to do. So my only recommendation before you start doing Mission 7 is to pick out which of the 2 you really don't feel like doing and just make sure that you're going for the other 6 as best you can. 5 of these you can get done very easily with a single type of build, which we will take a look at, and that is objectives 1, 2, 5, 6, and 7 right here. All of these 5, again 1 and 2, 5, 6, and 7, you'll get done very easily with a hotshot determined build like we were just looking at earlier on in the video. Again, this works very well with the modifier itself. You will max out that momentum bar and be getting all of those buffs, but it will tick up your progress for each of those 5 objectives quite quickly. The only thing to be sure of while you are going for those ones specifically, if you are going to use a similar build here, is to use the Tactical Supremacy active modifier. As you can see, objective 1 and 2 ask you to eliminate enemies while it is active and to extend its duration by getting headshot kills, and so specifically when we have a build that is all about getting headshot kills one after another, this is the perfect synergy to get this done very quickly. If you choose to do that recommendation and take out 1, 2, 5, 6, and 7 with a determined kind of build, that's then going to leave you with objective number 8, as well as 4 and 3 right here. Again, assuming you chose to do those 5 that I did, I leave this choice up to you. Each of these is going to be slightly tedious in its own regard. If you choose to go for number 3 here, which is performing melee kills with a shield while fortified shield is equipped, this can be done fairly easily by putting on the claws out holster here, which gives you 500% melee damage in the attributes, and pairing that with the Lady Death exotic SMG right here, which again, on its mods, you get 500% melee damage. Put a half shield on there, go around and bonk people on normal difficulty. You should get that one done pretty fast. Just remember before you go and do that to make sure that you have the fortified shield passive modifier equipped like the challenge necessitates. If you choose to go for objective number 4 right here, really just putting on any kind of armor regen build, pulling out your shield and standing in the middle of a bunch of enemies on normal, letting them shoot it and restore the armor, you'll probably get that one done pretty fast. If you want to do objective 8, you can. Technically it is the easiest one in theory because you're just activating different abilities within a specific window. Again, Overdrive, Vendetta, and Tactical Supremacy are the 3 active modifiers that you have access to, but it's really just kind of slow and boring, having to sit there, equip them all, activate them all. So I leave the choice totally up to you for those last few if you want to go for number 8, 4, or 3 here, but overall, Journey 7 shouldn't be too bad of a grind compared to some of the last few. Well, there you have it, my friends. That is the entirety of my tips for the Year 6 Season 3 seasonal journey, specifically after the shooting range removal. I greatly hope that it helped you out in getting some ideas on how to expedite your progress here. I know for a lot of people, the seasonal journey can feel like this impenetrable wall, and it can be daunting, absolutely, but approached properly, engaged with the correct builds, and spaced out accordingly, I think it can be very doable. Hopefully you think so as well after watching this video. Any thoughts you have, or more importantly, questions you may have after watching through this video, whether it be something you didn't understand from one of the journey sections, any outstanding stuff that I didn't bring up myself, feel free to ask those below. Happy to read through and try and clear up whatever I can. That is going to do it for me on this one though, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. RogueGold. Ow.